Namaste. I, Vikram Dongre from Sanatan Prabhat Media Group, welcome you all to this very special program. Today, we will be speaking with an exceptional guest who has been working for uplifting the Hindu plight, especially those Hindus living in the United States of America. Yes, the American elections are around the corner, and the number of states in the US are undergoing the primaries, followed by which there will be the presidential elections in November, that is later this year. Well, if you see the American politics, many people from the Indian origin have been influential and have been actively participating in the politics of the country. Ro Khanna, or you can say Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek Ramaswamy, to name a few prominent faces who have been terming themselves as unapologetically Hindu and who have been taking the Hindu face forward. So today we have an emerging Hindu face in American politics. We have with us Mrs. Purnima Nath, who who is running for the elections from the state of Wisconsin, from Milwaukee County. Namaste Purnima ji. I welcome you on behalf of all the Bharatiyas staying in Bharat here.
Thank you so much. Namaste for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah. So Purnima ji, my first question is, you have been living in America for more than 2 decades. So, from the corporate point of view or from social point of view, in what kind of activities were you involved in all these years? You can shed light on that.
Oh, sure. Thank you so much, Vikramji. You're very kind to invite me to have a conversation. I'm really grateful for that. I started my career as a software engineer, and I've actually worked in many corporations and moved into management as well, and provided service in that arena. During my time frame, I got involved into ERGs. That was my first involvement in terms of employee resource group, and I had no idea what it was. And then later on, I found out something that corporations were engaging in terms of bringing in diversity. So I got involved in terms of Asian resource basically. So there used to be massive amount of groups, whether it's African American, Asian groups, LGBTQ, and several groups like that, Hispanic groups and things like that. I got involved in one of the company. Actually, in fact, that time frame is the time then when I realized that in the place that I live in, it's extremely ethnic. They have Polish fest, German fest. They had Italian fest and massive amount of different kind of ethnic festival here. And I one day was thinking, how come we don't have anything for India specifically? Because we used to go to the temples and the different sects of India, different folks from India, for instance, the North Indians or the Tamilians or the Telugus or the Bengalis or the Malayalis, they used to do different things in the temple. They used to do their own thing, whether it's Onam or, the New Year program and Diwali, and everybody used to have their own thing. I never saw anything which was for just India specifically as a country. So I thought that would be nice to have something like that. So what I started back 12 years ago is called India Fest. And it was very, very well accepted in the community. Today, now we are approaching 12 years. Through that, we were able to do advocacy about what India is, how diverse India is within one country. Every states are different. The language is different. The ancienity of our civilization is something that we talked about. So in that context, we're very happy to work with all the groups, but it's actually very difficult to work with every single diverse group within India also. It's like a entire world in general. So that's what I've been working on in the last over a decade, in terms of promoting advocacy of Indian civilization. And I became very involved in terms of how lucky, how fortunate we are actually to be born in this ancient civilization that actually went through massive invasion by foreigners. And even though even after all this invasion and atrocities, we actually survived. And that actually gives me hope. That actually gives me a massive amount of inspiration to continue the communication, the advocacy, and also perhaps enable the next generation that listen, no matter where you are, your ancestors, like our ancestors, have done a fabulous job in terms of making sure that you survive and our identity. And that's when I actually took on massive pride in Hindu identity. And when I started getting involved into the political arena, I realized that Western entities were actually quite anti-Hindu. I had no idea about it. I was not a politician. I was not involved in politics. I didn't know anything about political landscape. I didn't know what Democrats were. I didn't know what Republicans were. I didn't know what BJP was. I didn't know what Congress was. All I knew was that we came from a very poor background. We realized that 70% of Indian population was poor. At that point of time, we had no idea as to why, because I've seen a massive violence in India. The place that I come from is actually run by socialists. It's actually ruled by violence and terror and picking up daughters of the oppositions, massive amount of atrocities. We have seen the political opposition burning houses and things like that. I've seen that in our childhood, but I had no idea as to what the root cause could have been. So once I got involved in the Indic civilizational aspect of it, and I started understanding, there is some kind of connection, and the identity is important. And that's when I actually took on this Hindu identity very proudly, which before I probably was a liberal, before I was a secular. I probably said that all religions are same. I probably said that we shouldn't be engaged in violence, and that is all true. But at the same time, I think the defensive nature, the holding the Hinduness in my sleeves, that came when I actually started getting into understanding of what Indic civilization is, and how much struggle, how much dedication our ancestors had to
Yeah.
save this civilization is incredible to me.
Yeah, really, Purnima ji. That's really phenomenal. Even living so away from India and still you stick to your divine roots and you're actively propagating this Hinduism very unapologetically. Really, we congratulate you for that. So my next question is, you are contesting as a Hindu in a Christian state. So what kind of challenges did you face in for the last few years when you are actively participating in the American politics?
So I'll tell you something about India
Yeah.
also. India has Christian CMs. The Andhra Pradesh as a CM is a Christian. If you go to Nagaland, their CM is a Christian. If you go to Mizoram, their CM is a Christian. If you go to overall aspect of accepting different religion, I think Hindus are most liberal of this world, and we never actually looked at who's Christian and who's Muslim. We have embraced everybody. But when I saw that as a Hindu, running as a Hindu in United States is challenging, it didn't bother me at all, because I think everybody, if you look at the United States history, Nikki Haley had to convert to be accepted as a Republican in the party. Bobby Jindal had to convert, and he actually went ahead and it was just not converting, but the usage of the viciousness against the Hindu community itself, that didn't go very well to the Hindu community. In general, Hindus are more Democrats. They actually vote Democrats. When they came, these Indian people came to America back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. They actually became more Democrats, and they voted for Democrats. I think it is because they think that Democrat Party is more immigrant friendly, and that's probably the reason why Indian Americans actually became massively Democrats. But it was not because of their Hindu. Now, in general, if you look at Hindu characteristics, we are embracing everybody. We don't go around holding our sleeves as a Hindu anywhere. But a Christian does, a Muslim does, a Jew does. And that something is inspiring to me, because when I started running, I didn't have to hide my identity at all. And I actually refused to hide my identity and not talking about who I am. Well, take it or leave it. If I win, if I lose, it didn't matter to me. What mattered to me is the path. It's what I choose, the path that I choose. If I'm not happy, if I have to hide my identity in order to win something, to me that was not a fair game. And everything is out in the open. They know me. They know me. I'm a Hindu. They know me, that I actually propagate Hinduness, and that's fine. I mean, to me, it's fine. If it is not fine for them, it is what it is. But what is surprising to me is when, if you know, when Vivek was running and they knew he was a Hindu, he had to go through questionnaires in America, that as a Hindu, how can he run this country? Can you imagine this kind of conversation in India today? Have you ever questioned a Jagan Reddy, a Christian whose family is Christian, before he became a chief minister of Andhra Pradesh? Did you ask him that how, as a Christian, he can rule in Hindu land? Did anybody had a question like that, or sessions like that, videographed and communicated to everybody in the country? It's a Hindu country, right? India is a Hindu land, and that is the only land that is left for the entire world. We don't have Afghanistan, we don't have Indonesia, we don't have Pakistan, Bangladesh, we don't even have India at this point of time. So in that country, if a Christian becomes a leader of the country, we don't care. We don't question them whether they are going to be running the country or the state as a Christian properly or not, whether it's going to be right for the Hindus or not. That actually opened my eyes even more. I became even more inspired and motivated to actually promote Hinduness of me, whoever I am. That as a Hindu, I should be able to run for political office in America unapologetically, even though I'm micro minority, because Christians are actually 10% in India. They're actually holding massive amount of land and positions, top positions in India. We never ask them about their faith, never ask them about why they are able to run the state or massive amount of institutions. We know that for sure, right? So that's why I think it's important to have a conversation. This is the time, if America actually says that there is religious freedom, I as a Hindu don't want to be living here as a third grade citizen. I don't even want to tell anybody or recommend anybody, and a single Indian American, to come to America if people like us have problems here in terms of running in the political arena. So I actually am very vocal about this. I'm anti conversion. I tell that if Jesus has to come to my life at any point of time, he will come. Doesn't have to be enforced. It doesn't have to be forcefully at all. If he comes, he will come. If that's the path that I have to choose as a soul at one point of time, it will happen. And I'll proudly choose that. But this is not the time. This is not who I am. So the enforcement or the bullying or the forcing things, that doesn't work for me. So if I have to live here as a proud American citizen, I will take my faith identity as a proud Hindu as well. And that's my determination at this point of time in America. If America proudly says that religious freedom is okay and they are going
Yeah,
to let us live the way we are.
yeah. True, Purnima ji. What we starkly remember is when Vivek Ramaswamy was running for the presidential race, and he was questioned regarding his identity, his Hindu identity. So this actually shows the double standards of the United States or the Western media, the Washington Post or the New York Times, or even the European media like the BBC. If I take your attention towards one important aspect, is that there are many research centers, like the Pew Research Center or the United States Commission of International Religious Freedom, who keeps on shouting that the Muslims or the Christians in India are actually being attacked by Hindus here. Hindus are termed intolerant, Hindus of India, And on the contrary, when you see the theocratic states of Bangladesh or Pakistan, their Hindus are killed, their women are tortured, raped, mutilated every day, every other day. And all these institutions, the Western institutions, just keep mum. They are totally silent. So, what's your take on such kind of the double standards, the hypocrisy that is America as a nation or its media play?
So let's talk about the media. The institutions that you talked about, Washington Post, New York Times, and things like that. Whether we go from America to Europe, or whether it's a Telegraph, BBC, and several others, these Western media in collectively are quite anti-Hindu, and it was very very clear. Not just now, for quite some time. So whether it's some kind of index they come up with, the democracy index, and this and that against India, against Hindus. It just makes no sense at one point of time. But America specifically, in the last election cycle, they also understood that these entities are actually against conservatives, basically the right wing ideology focused people, right? So it was not just anti Hindu, they're actually anti Donald Trump. They're actually are anti-Modi, anti-Bolsonaro, anti-Shinzo Abe, anti literally every right-wing leaders and right-wing ideology followers. So the idea that they're anti-Hindu, it probably makes sense at this point of time. It just added bonus. So to me, I'm not surprised that Western media had been anti-Hindu. American media has always been anti-Hindu. There is no column that I've ever seen that was actually for the Hindus, or they actually supported the Hindus at all. Now, coming back to double standards, it is happening constantly. They say the media is a independent arm. They actually showcase the events and incidents the way it is. It's very untrue. When you look at MSNBC, when you hear CNN, when you hear CBS and these BBCs and etc., you see the bias they bring in, the anchors to the panelists, they bring in massive amount of bias for Hindus and India in general speaking. Unfortunately, they I don't know how the law works. Nobody was able to sue them in terms of in a way that actually exposes their double standards. But here and there, some cases we hear, but it's not widespread. People, globally don't know exactly how many lawsuits are going on, how they lied and things like that. For instance, Nick Sanderman, the boy in Washington DC, was harassed by CNN, MSNBC, NBC, and etc. He sued massive amount of news outlets and got millions of dollars. And so like that, things happen. But the point I'm trying to say is that I think it's time that regular people start suing these organizations for defamations, for lying, for deceiving. Now, why I say that is because the incidents you mentioned in India, Christians are becoming the leader of parties. Sonia Gandhi is not a Hindu. She is a Christian from a Christian country, came to India as leading from her own faith. These people don't even say Bande Matram. They don't even say Bharat Mata. They don't even say India is a Hindu country. So they're leading as a Christian, aligning with other Islamic entities. Catholic Church is the secondary owner of the lands in India. The Waqf board is the third largest property owner in India. We never knew all these statistics. Media never told us about this. Now, coming back to Western media, the Western media's surrogate is Indian media. Indian media is exactly running as Western media. So internally within India, you have enemies, but externally also we have enemies. So in general, we have nobody. In general, we have nobody. Hindus have nobody. Hindus have nobody in the entire world. No politicians will stand for you. No media will stand for you. No academia will stand for you. So what I say to literally everybody is that you have to stand for yourself. It doesn't matter whether media is going to stand for you, academia is going to stand for you. We have to just do it what is right for us. We understand how difficult this work is, and we understand that we have to have shelter, food, and basic amenities to in order to even raise our voice. We understand that. Yet I think I say that in America you have massive amount of rich Indian Americans. We might be 1% here, but 50 top companies, if you take, all are run by Indian Americans. How many times have you heard all these Indian American CEOs raising voice against the double standards against Hindus? They didn't. They won't. The fact of the matter is, Indians and Hindus are raised as liberal and secular. We don't talk about our faith. We don't take pride in our faith. We actually try to bend and take others color within us and paint ourselves with those colors. I have no problem with their colors. The problem is we also have some colors, isn't it? Isn't it important for us to talk about our faith, our identity? Which the top CEO of Indian origin has talked about Hindu faith? Whether was it Satya Nadella? Was it Sundar Pichai? Was it Indira Nui? Who did? I want to know. Who did? I want to know, because the problem is not the external enemies are against
Correct.
and they have double standard. The problem
Yes.
is within our community. It is
Yeah.
us who can solve it. We can blame the Western media as much as you want, but it is what is
Exactly.
the community doing? That's what I want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. True, Purnimaji. What you said is the absence of the global Hindu ecosystem is actually the reason why we are targeted and we are cornered in every facet of, you say, geopolitics, international politics, or even religion as such. So if we see the America, if we see their backyard, you can see that a lot of Hindus have been killed in last 7 to 8 months, especially the students. So, what do you think, or is there any conspiracy behind all such happenings?
See, when Hindu students, Indian students are coming to America, they're actually not coming as Hindu. They're coming as just like us, like how we came here, or many of us come here for work, for studies, and things like that. I don't think Indian media has even given any idea what Harvard or Yale or UC Berkeley or the top institutions, have done against Hindus, and in general speaking, in today's climate, it's not just anti-Hindu. These guys are actually anti-Jews, and some of them are anti-Christian too in America. Now, the reason I say that is because it's true. Some of these are absolutely against all religions. So basically, what you have to draw parallel to in this particular instance is, as Marxism has crept in, and Marxism is dictating in terms of the policies, and they want to literally erase all religion, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism. They don't care what religion that we follow in terms of spiritual growth. They actually want to erase everything and replace it with Marxism. So that is happening in United States. I've seen that in our state. Recently, there was a massive atrocity. A guy, a criminal, who was let out of the jail, actually took a car and ran onto a parade, Christmas parade, and killed 6 people. It's not just Hindus that they are against. In India, they are against Hindus. In global, they're against Hindus. But in America, actually, they're against Christians too. And that's why you will see a massive revival of Christianity in America. And this faith based organizations are coming, and you will see even President Donald Trump has aligned with massive amount of faith based organizations. So it's, in general speaking, there is a two group here: Marxist group, which is atheist group, which is against all religion, and there is religion group. Within the religion group, you will see some divisions between the Abrahamic religion and non-Abrahamic religion, which is us, the pagans. And the Abrahamic religions basically try to establish that all the non-Abrahamic religions like us, the Hinduism, which is the final surviving one, are the false ones. So there is an intent, there is an activity, there's also institutionalized work behind eradicating Hinduism from the Western countries, from the
Yeah.
Abrahamic faith. So we have to consider all the factors that is happening. It's not just one way event that is happening. Recently I've been into faith and freedom. This is the
Mm.
second year that I have been into faith and freedom. This is a very specifically Christian faith based organization, a political organization who brings in massive amount of political leaders to talk in front of faith based communities. So pastors, bishops, they all come, they talk about the faith, the Christian faith in American politics. Now, this is Judeo Christian principles that was the country was built on. So you will see massive amount of alignment with the Jews, with with Judaism, but there is no Hinduism in there. So I had a conversation just a few days ago with somebody, because they were talking to me that who are you? How did you come here? Are you part of Republican Party and etc.? Said, why? I'm a Hindu. Am I not supposed to be in this party or so? They were like literally trying to question me and my faith, my Hindu faith, because I'm a strong Hindu, and I actually say I'm a Hindu. I'm not hiding anything, and I actually say that I'm a Hindu. I'm in a Christian conference, let's say. So I have no problem in that. I'm very accepting. I go everywhere. I'll even go to mosque. I go to mosque. But that doesn't mean that I will leave my Hindu faith.
Hindu identity. Yeah.
I observe from everybody. I understand from everybody what their faith is and how they pray and what their faith meaning is. But that doesn't mean that somebody is going to be coming and telling me my faith is false, my faith means nothing, and we are worshiping false god. And that's when I become absolutely defensive. Please don't do that to us. so
Yeah.
so it's not just one factor that is happening. So I would say that for Indian American, or at least Indian descendant, who are actually coming to America for study, for work, for any other reason, for building home, wealth, or whatever it is, I need you to know that there is a rising anti-Hindu sentiment at this point of time in all Western countries, including in India. You know that. You know what Mr. Rahul Gandhi has said. You know what Stalin has said from Tamil Nadu. You know what they're trying to do in terms of eradicating Sanatan, eradicating Hindus, and they're literally targeting the religion from a different faith perspective. So I think you need to know that Americas probably have to go through some kind of revolution to accept us as part of the fabric. We're not there yet, because anybody like me who needed to be part of the political landscape, they had to convert. And it's very
Yeah.
recently that has happened, that I've seen Vivek Ramaswamy, that he didn't convert. And I was in the landscape before him. I didn't know him. I was already a Hindu running for offices. And Vivek Ramaswamy ran for the top office because he was born American, and he could have run for presidential election. And that's why people saw him as a Hindu, and that's how it became a global news. But I've been running for office since 2019. So as a Hindu, I think it's important for Indians who are coming to America to know that the country is not there yet in terms of embracing Hinduness. If you see Usha Vance, the wife of vice presidential candidate or nominee of Republican Party, the amount of harassment she has gone through once it was found out that she was a Hindu. Actually, she didn't convert. It was incredible. I didn't know who J.D. Vance was. I didn't know who his wife was. But a lot of people started calling me, telling me that, do you know his wife is a Indian? I said I had no idea. And then later on, I found out she was a Hindu. The point I'm trying to say here, Vikramji, is the country is not ready yet to accept a Hindu leader. And it's a very alien concept for America, because it's built on Judeo-Christian principles. So my question to Indians would be, why don't you have Hinduness in India? Why don't you have Hindu leaders taking on the leadership and making sure that Hinduness is discussed in a top level? Why don't
yeah,
you? Because that's your country, that's your land. I'm no longer in India. I'm no longer in the
exactly.
land of India. I'm American citizen. Why don't you make sure India remains as a Hindu country? Because that's the only land that is left. And don't come here to gain your education and work or
Yeah,
career or whatever, but stay in
yeah,
India and build the country. That's my message to them. And if you come here, understand there is a rising and Hinduphobic sentiment in the country, and I'm talking about it as well. Whether it's me, whether it's overt, whether it's covert, it is there. It is there.
yeah, yeah. A very, very important, vital message that you have given to the Hindus who, as a kind of brain drain, they go to the Western countries, the United States, and also you have put upon a point. It's really startling that this American politics is pro-Christian and anti-Hindu. It's really startling for all the Hindus who are watching this interview today. So, taking the discussion forward, Purnima ji, as you can see, the Jews drive the American economy. America has to pay by backing Israel in whatever circumstance whatsoever. In the Middle East. No, this is the power of Jewish lobby in American politics or in American social strata. As far as Indians or the Hindus are concerned, we also have many influential Hindus who are working in US for the last many years. But why Hindus actually fall short to exercise that pressure upon the American politics to back India in any circumstance? What's your take on that? And what should the Hindus in America do to counter that and to become as influential Hindu lobby in the United States?
See, Hindus don't have a lobby at this point of time, and they
Yeah,
never had. There are some advocacy groups right now. They're talking in the Hindu campuses. They're also taking steps to talk to Congress as well as senators in terms of Hindu plights and things like that. But there is no tangible outcome, if you will. When we were talking about earlier about CEOs, the Indian American or Indian descent CEOs of top 50, 100 companies of America, not a single one that I have ever heard that they actually took the Hinduness and they actually stood for or against the double standards against the India and Indian Americans. They have never done that. They may have mansions, they may have Rolls Royces, they may have clout and a massive amount of money, bank accounts, and hefty influence in the American society, but they have not done anything for Hindu society. They have not done anything for India either. They don't stand. So the problem is always coming back to Hindus themselves. The way we were raised was we were told all religions are same. We were told we should embrace everybody. There is nothing wrong in the message at all. But the point that they failed to teach us was when somebody comes after you and denigrates you, belittles you for your faith, for your identity, or for your dots, for your sari, for your food habits, for your culture, for your traditions, for your heritage, for your civilization. Don't you have the right to defend yourself? That doesn't happen in India. That doesn't happen in UK. That doesn't happen in America. That doesn't happen anywhere. So at the end of the day, the problem lies within the Hindu community. We have taken in on short end of the stick constantly, consistently for millennium. We haven't learned anything from history, and we haven't learned a single lessons to stand up for ourselves. I constantly say Jews are only 0.2% of the world. Yet they have a country, no matter how small it is, surrounded by Islamic countries, the enemy countries. They want to eradicate that small land given to them as well. Yet they're able to not only just protect that land, but go around and garner support everywhere. And I support Jews. I think they should have the country, they should have the land. And similarly, I actually support Hindus that we should have our ancient land for ourselves too. The foreign faiths, the foreign entities, the newer ideologies shouldn't have the authority and audacity to dictate us or to dictate what India as a Hindu land should do. And when such statements come from elected leaders and their sons and their relatives like that they want to eradicate Sanatan, I don't see actions in India. Was that person jailed? Where is the lawsuit? Can you please show me there is a lawsuit? Can you please show me that Supreme Court of India has taken so moto, actually given some kind of a warning against that person, or all these entities they have said this kind of dangerous words? None at all. So I can't expect Indian Americans or Indians to today stand up and say something, because we have been weakened constantly through our education system, through our media, through our academia, whether it's Romila Thapar or whether it's Barkha Dutt. They have weakened us. Even Gandhi's Raghupati Raghav song was modified to promote a vicious lie that was, constantly shoved within us. So we don't have an answer at this point of time, Vikramji. All I say is that Indians have been weakened through massive amount of agenda and propaganda, and we need to stop. And this is a time that now, if we don't stop, I don't see how we can survive, or Hindus can survive by 2047 in India. Forget about America. America is not going to be there. I personally think that we as a Hindu, we will be treated as a third grade citizens. We will be treated as we're not good enough because we are not Christian enough. We are not Jews. So, and I mean, we are so small in terms of number in America. I can't fix it by myself. All I can say is that the only folks who can fix this issue is you in India. You are still in 60% range. When you go down to 49% range, you lost the plot. And that's pretty much coming very soon. So you are the one, India is the one who can fix this issue. We cannot.
True. Very true, Purnima ji. So Hindus need to awaken themselves and they should unite for the greatest cause of saving their dharma. So now, if we shift our attention towards the American politics as such, Joe Biden has stepped down from the presidential race recently, and he has endorsed Kamala Harris for the top post. Both of these leaders are actually detrimental to the Indian interests in Kashmir, which is basically the integral part of India. Yet for the last 4 years, they couldn't exercise pressure against India on the Kashmir issue. So, what do you think? Maybe the reason behind this?
So, Kamala Harris was visibly anti-Hindu and Kashmir's alignment with India. You know that before when she became a vice president, that conversations were happening. However, Modi, as you know, the Modi was not supposed to be re-elected as a prime minister. If that would have happened, it would have been much easier for foreign entities to interfere in terms of Kashmir situation. And Kashmir is no different from what Palestine situation is, or Gaza situation is, or Israel situation is. Unfortunately, for the left-wingers, Modi came back, of course, and they obviously tried to take him on different kind of media narratives and things like that. But what I would say that because of the strong leadership of Modi, India got survived for the last few years, and also developing massively. But there are some brown sepoys who had been deployed in America, in the UK, and several other Western countries who actually take jives against India and Hindus constantly, every single day. If you open Twitter, there are several Islamic entities, the handles, and also brown sepoy with an Indian Hindu names that constantly talks about how terrible India is, how terrible the Hindu people are, the faith is, and etc. And I think what I would communicate to you is that India with 1.4 billion people and still 60% Hindus left over there. I think this is time for you to actually take on countering these people from elsewhere, including the people within the country. Now, the reason I would say that, the left wingers, whether it's Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, couldn't, do anything about the Kashmir issue is because India's rising power. India has not only just in Quad, India has been is part of G20. India has done fabulous in terms of being invited in G7 recently in Italy. Now, the countering China has become a critical issue for America as well. Chinese entities are buying properties and farmlands in America. So a lot of governors, a lot of state authorities are actually trying to stop those. We already have IP issues and things like that, which are kind of known issues at this point of time. South China Sea is a massive problem as well. So countering China cannot be done without India. Although India and US relationship was quite struggling in the past decades, I think there is an effort from both the parties. At least maybe there is a opportunity at this point of time to build relationship, which is what Modi has done, whether during Trump time or the Biden time. They were not able to harm much, or although if you see the recent US ambassador Eric Garcetti in India tries to make a lot of jibes against Hindus and India and Indian policies as an ambassador from another country. I don't know why Indian media and Indian Hindu people don't take it seriously and counter and start raising these issues globally, that he as an ambassador cannot actually comment on certain internal issues. And but they do that. They probably think that they are allowed to do that because they're quite powerful. But I think India at this point of time has an opportunity and leverage of power that India should be able to start converse on this regard. So at least, I mean, if I was an ambassador to a country, why would I comment on politics of that country? Because I'm not a politician of that country, or I was not born in that country, or whatever the reason. I'm basically a representative of another country, a Rajdut of to placed in another country. So I think India has to raise its level of identity a little bit, and actually take into consideration that it is not fair for another country's ambassadors to talk about internal politics like that. But it is still happening. So I would leave it up to you to see what you can do for your country, what you and your Hindu community can do for the country. I'm an American citizen. I will be taking American stance. As you know, Vivek Ramaswamy has to take American stance, and similarly, Rishi Sunak has to take UK stance.
Uh, yes, Purnima ji. Important points. As far as Donald Trump is concerned, his campaign is concerned, and he was attacked recently. So, is there a wave of sympathy about him in America, in the general public as such?
Certainly, it's no question at all. There is a security lapse that has happened. There's a lot of investigation that is happening. There's seemed to be a bipartisan committee was created to do an investigation on that. The shooter was identified not just 30 minutes before, but 1 hour before, and yet a presidential candidate was allowed to take a stage. So something went really wrong over there. We don't know exactly, was it by design, whether it's there's some conspiracy going on or some coup going on to take out President Trump or not. But we all saw, because it was happening in live TV, you all saw how he was saved for fraction of a second, millisecond, I would say. It was God's grace that he is with us. He's safe. We love him because not just for the fact that he actually stood there and raised his fist and told fight, but in such situation, the first reaction is to hide. And this gentleman was not willing to hide. He was right there, sticking his head up again, and telling people to fight. So to me, he just created a history. His iconic picture is going to be in a history book too, if at all. The left wing is not trying to erase the history. And we know that in our left wing media actually tried to denigrate this issue too, saying that it was some kind of, it didn't even happen, or it was not even a bullet at all, things like that. So they have been consistently and constantly lying about it. So yes, there is a massive sympathy, and I think it actually united the Republican Party as well behind one leader, which is him. There was a silver lining into in this particular situation. It's a bad precedence that at this point of time this country, our country, has set. And I have not expected that in 2020 I'll see a assassination attempt of a opposition political leader in America, the country that actually talks about democracy, the country actually talks about leadership, the country actually talks about teaching and lecturing other countries. And this is
Exactly.
where this is quite disappointing to me, because you can disagree as much as you want, but you don't have to take somebody's life in order to make a point. And Democrat Party has a history of taking out anybody that they didn't like, whether it's President Lincoln, whether it's President John F. Kennedy. The history had been quite violent. But given the history also, although I have said that President Trump had to increase his security details, but Democrat Party played massively in terms of politics and reduced his security detail. It actually came down to FBI and DOJ. So to me, they played politics. The Democrat Party played politics, and they tried to take out their opponent and the leader of the opponent in 2024. I cannot forgive that party. I cannot forgive that political party for any reasons. They are vicious, vile, vindictive, and extremely violent, and that's what they've proven to me once again. So, yes, there is sympathy vote for President Trump. Will stand with him very strongly, and he's coming back no matter who is the nominee of the Democrat Party. Today they talk about, or Joe Biden had talked about, no matter who it is from the Democrat Party, whether it's Kamala Harris or Gavin Newsom or anybody else, they're not good for the country. They're violent. They have, even Kamala Harris raised funds for rioters, the BLM rioters. He actually supported the criminals. So these Democrat Party and their policies, these leaders of their party are not good for the country. Now, what point is that quite important for everybody to know? The Democrat Party, the media arm, which is the mainstream media, I call them actually Democrats promotional it's actually communication arm. They, including the media, including all experts of Democrat Party, they actually lied to the public, to the people of America today, that for 3.5 years he was the one who was running the country. Who was not running from the day one. He was not a fit for president from day one. He was a face and somebody else was running, and people thought it was Barack Obama who was running the country. And they placed Kamala Harris, and the selection was based on the gender and the ethnicity, race, and she calls herself as a black, and she's a woman. That's why she was selected as a vice president, and not because of what she can do. She did something. I know she had her career in California. I understand that, but the point is that the main reason she was selected is because of caste, because of reservation, because of quota system, because of the identity politics. So it's quite dangerous at this point of time. She was not good for Hindus. She was not good for the Christians of this country. She was not good for the country's border. The one job she had was saving the border, or border crisis, or solving the border crisis. She did not. She was not able to do it. They said the Biden was the right person to run the country. Not only they hid his medical condition, but they constantly kept making sure that he is actually being promoted as some kind of savior of this country, and with Ray-Ban glasses and etc. like that, showing in his convertible, macho man type of image they created of him. It all fell through in the last debate with President Trump, and that's when they couldn't hide it anymore from the public, and that's when the top leadership came in and said he should drop. Now he came off of the presidential race, but how is he able to run the country then for the 3.5 years and the rest of the few months? Shouldn't he be dropping now? The point is that he was not running the country from beginning, and he was a stooge. He was a stooge of deep state, and today we are in a position that he is still placed as the face of the party, running the country as a president, so-called president, and actually he's not running the country. So we are in a massive shamble as a country, so in a sorry state of a country at this point of time, and Democrats understood it, and that's why they are the one who actually created a coup to oust him. So it was not a Republican Party who was able to, or the media was able to. They worked together. The media, the Democrat Party, the DNC leadership, they actually worked together to place a coup like that, put him in front of the public with a debate, and then start a conversation to make sure that he actually is ousted, so they have an opportunity to place somebody else. At this point of time, doesn't matter who is their nominee, Donald Trump is coming back. And I,
Yeah.
as a Hindu, Indian American, my goal is to build relationship with India. The India-US relationship was absolutely pathetic in the last few decades. Foreign
Yeah.
policy of America was not nice for Hindus or for India, for the sovereignty of India. And my goal as a congressperson is also to build relationship with India.
Yeah. So the deep state, the terrible deep state into play again, we have been seeing it in American politics for the last 3.5 years. And even we as nationalist Indians would feel that this attack on Donald Trump should be a blessing in disguise. And let's see what happens in the coming months. So, Purnima ji, as far as Europe is concerned, we can see that many countries there are leaning, or the European people are leaning towards nationalism, the right wing ideology. So, as far as the US is concerned, and as far as these upcoming presidential elections are concerned, uh, what is the scenario on ground, or what is the kind of environment on ground in America?
See, recent election that has happened in France, it actually went to the left wingers.
Yeah,
So unfortunately speaking, things like that could happen, and we can't take anything for granted. At this point of time, Donald Trump's chances of winning this race is far greater than anybody. Democrat Party has failed the country, not just from a perspective of regular people's lives, but also they started two wars. It's a massive issue in terms of border. They have let in 10, 12 million illegal aliens into the country and paying from the treasury of the country in terms of housing, welfare, education, food, healthcare, and etc. like that. So it's actually hurting the taxpayers' money, the treasury that the United States even have. So I speak on this illegal immigration issues. I speak on the national security issue. FBI themselves has raised the concern around terror attacks, and you can imagine what the country is going through. Our border is wide open. We are sending billions of dollars to other countries to save or protect their borders or build their borders or wall, and our borders are open. Our walls are not completed, and they are letting in massive amount of people, and through that they're actually giving voter registration over there, giving $1,000 iPhones. They're claiming they don't have anything to eat, but they have $1,000 phone. They claim they have nothing. They have nothing at this point of time. They have been given 5-star hotel accommodations on the taxpayers' dimes. So the way Democrat Party has treated the citizens and the legal immigrants like me in this country is just vicious. It's just inhumane. This is not going to go very well for Democrat Party at this point of time. Even the Indian Americans who are actually traditionally Democrat voters, they are extremely irritated and disappointed with Democrat Party. Recent poll actually showed that Democrats have lost at least 20% of Indian American votes. I understand Indian Americans are 1%. We are not vote banks. We don't vote in blocks either. We tend to be independent, but obviously in the past they have been voting in the Democrat Party. But what happened in this case is recently, with all this anti-Hindu agenda that Democrat Party has pushed primarily, and recent one was the SB 403 by my senator, Wisconsin senator, Tammy Baldwin. We have spoken massively against it. They're basically trying to target not only just Hindus of America, but also global Hindus and Hindus of India and the country India. It's a vicious agenda that has been played. So Indian Americans are not having it anymore. They are actually moving. But the question is, are they going to move to the right and vote for the presidential candidate of Republican Party, who is Trump, or they're just going to be independent and waiting and seeing what has happened? So at the end of the day, Indian Americans are not involved in politics. They're very selfishly involved in the making money, making perhaps donating to even last election cycle. They have donated to Biden and Kamala Harris. They continuously raising fund even after SB 403. So Indian Americans, as in Indian Americans, they have to realize or understand where they fall. Do they really want their identity, or they want to just constantly being slapped around based on party to party? Right wing on the right side of the aisle, which is the Republican Party, they haven't done anything for for the Indian Americans per se. They actually don't. The outreach is a problem, I suppose, in the Republican side. They probably fail in terms of outreaching to any community. So I'm not going to go around and say, okay, they haven't done anything for the Indian Americans, but they do outreach for Black community. They do outreach for Hispanic community. Indian American community has been left out. But at the same time, President Trump was the first one that I've actually seen who has taken a cognizance about this particular instance, and he is actually is quite a big supporter of Indian American. He now, as you see, has even pulled in somebody under vice presidential wing with an Indian wife who has taken massive flack for being a Hindu. Now going forward, I think President Trump is going to be able to pull in a lot of Indian Americans who traditionally voted Democrat Party and their leaders and raised funds for them. And I think they're going to come to this side. And that's going to happen. So to me, I think it's not just our community that I'm talking about. Just in general, the country is hurting under Democrat Party. Country is hurting under the leadership of Biden and Harris administration, and we couldn't be we are in a massive shamble at this point of time. So hopefully, in my mind, I think we're looking at it in the right way, that actually President Trump is the right person to come to the seat once again.
Yeah. Yes, Purnima, this also actually shows the inevitability of Hindu awakening and the Hindu resurgence, be it in India or in the US. So my final question, what we wish that you come up with flying colors and become a US senator, what would be your priorities as even though as a Hindu or a common senator in the US Congress?
I'm running for Congress, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, House of Representatives. They're all
yeah,
Congress, Senate, and House of Representative. Both are Congress, but I'm running for the House of Representative, which is basically sort of like a MP position. And I do hope that your words come true. And my priorities mainly is national security, border security, legal immigration, and education over indoctrination in my own district, as well as economic development. Our country is sending billions, what, $230 billion to Ukraine, for a war that is they are losing constantly. And NATO has expanded. However, if you look at the place that I live in, we live in here, the crimes have gone up, and education is a joke. I'll tell you why. Because the reading proficiency here in Milwaukee Public School is 6%, and math proficiency is 3%. It is so pathetic that they get massive amount of dollars from federal institutions as well as from the state government, and yet we are unable to deliver result. And in Milwaukee and in Wisconsin, we actually spend Milwaukee Public School actually spends about almost $16,000 per student. The government spends that much per student. Can you imagine how much can you do in India for just that amount of money for one student? And these guys are unable to produce results. And I tell them that money is not the solution all the time, and we have to look at the issue from a ground perspective. We are getting the money. The federal government, the state government is giving the money. Where is it going? Is it going to the building? Is it going into the resources? So then why are the children not getting educated in our own city, in our own county? And then this is just an example I'm telling you. And then you have the economic development. If you go to the inner city, they're boarded up houses, the shambles, the houses are in shambles. Yet we spend billions of dollars elsewhere to win some wars. I have no problem protecting Jordan's border, but if my border is open, my border is not protected, why am I protecting somebody else's border? If my house is burning today, why am I giving water somewhere else? I have to take care of my own house, isn't it, today? So to me, it's a combination of policies that will help international geopolitical situation also, as well as my own district. So it's all hand in hand. I want to make sure that my people here, whether it's black, white, green, blue, doesn't matter. I say I'm not a black, I'm not a white, I'm in between. I want to make sure that we look at the politics of what has happened to us. Our county, our city actually voted Democrats for 100 years, and yet they ask the same question: what are you going to do for the black community? My question is, I'm not black, I'm not white. Can we please stop here and see what we have done in the past? Can we change our attitude and do something, change our patterns of voting and actually do something for the community? And this is going to continue if Milwaukee or Milwaukee City County doesn't change. If they want to continue to vote for Democrats, this is what we're going to get. We're going to get rising crimes. We're going to get sanctuary city where the illegal aliens are going to be placed. We're going to see massive amount of criminals left out on the street to kill law-abiding citizens like us. We're going to see illegal aliens are taking jobs away from the people, the deserving people of this country. President Trump said too that the illegal aliens are actually taking jobs from the black community and the Hispanic community. So these kind of reality that nobody is talking about. And we also don't know how many terrorists were let into the country and who's going to blow us up. So sadly speaking, from all kinds, all factors, all angle, our country is in a shamble today, and it is because of Biden, and it is because of Democrats, it is because of Harris administration, unfortunately. and we have to wake up and say the right thing. And I don't care what my skin color is. I don't care where I came from. I don't care what my faith is. But my city, my county is hurting, and hopefully we will be lucky enough and fortunate enough to communicate that information to the people, that they have been hurt, they have been abused for 100 years. The Democrat Party has abused them. So sadly, if they don't understand that today, I don't know when they are going to understand it. So my message is not going to change today, tomorrow, or day after tomorrow. This is what I'm fighting for, not just for the city, not just for the county, not just for my place, but also from a perspective of geopolitical situation. My country is being laughed on in global media today because of Biden, because of Harris, because of Democrat Party. I cannot let that happen. So I hope that my city, my county, who has voted in certain way in the past, we will change their voting patterns, and we will change their fate too, and in the coming days. Hopefully we
Yeah.
can make that, and hopefully that is the fate of Milwaukee. That is the fate of United States, that we can actually do something good for the country, and country's fate also allows that to happen.
Yes, yes, Purnimaji, and we really salute to the nationalist fervor that you possess about America, and we also wish you very best of luck. Uh, and we, as every Bharatiya, wish that you win this election. And we were with Mrs. Purnima Nath, who is running for the congressional candidate from Wisconsin State, Milwaukee County. Okay, thank you, Purnimaji, for joining with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vikramji. I really appreciated the conversation. Thank you so much for having me.